Hi, this is Hans from Request for Music. Um, I need to do this organ thing again because something went wrong in the recording for the Synclavier synthesizer sound, apparently, and I've got a new screen recorder software, so I hope everything's going to be okay this time. Anyway, I'll try to repeat the things that I did, and we'll start off with listening to simple carriers because an organ sound uses additive synthesis. So I only need the carrier part of my sound. So I'm already in my time slice part. I've got one partial selected and only one volume. So the only thing that's on is this simple partial at the moment with one carrier sound. So I've got one sound, one sine wave, and I want to add some effects to it because it's very dull. So I need to induce, or actually, the easiest part is I've got one made up already. So I'll go back into that one, and now go back in my time slices. So I got one carrier, and what I wanted to let you hear was that my carrier is changing or inducing noise if I get it to very low. So I can use that if I wanted to get noisy sounds and a bit of this rasping stuff in there. And if you want to get rid of that noise, you could go into your settings and make the setting for a bit depth higher, because if you lower this, you get even more noise, and if you higher it, it'll be cleaner. I want the option to have it, so I keep it at about 10. So I'll go back into my time slice. I only need the first harmonic at the moment. If I'm doing an organ, I need some same harmonics as an organ uses. And an organ uses a couple of standard waves and standard sizes, so to speak. It uses the 8 foot, 4 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot, and some in-betweens like the 5th and a 3rd here and there, and a lower one to give it extra depth. Actually, the 1 harmonic, which is in here, is comparable to the 16 foot, which is the really lowest one of a standard Hammond organ. So actually the normal root harmonic, so to speak, is my 2nd. And so if I listen to that, I get just this one sine wave, but this is too high for my standard C. So I'll go into my mixer and change the octave back to 220, so it's lower again. Then go back into my time slices, and I can add this lower one in if I wanted to. The other standard waves, as I said, were the 4 foot, 2 foot, and 1 foot, which are a double frequency for my harmonic, for my root harmonic, which is the 4, the 8, and the 16. So if I got that, I already got a decent organ. But I need the other ones as well to make it even more convincing. So I need the 5th in between here. I need the 5th in between the 2nd and 3rd octave, and I need the 3rd and 5th harmonic in between to really get it going. So that way I've got some sort of a basic setting for an organ, and I can lower some values to get it the shape or sound that I want it to. If I wanted that, okay, that's a basis to start off with. I'll go back into my mixer settings because it's a bit too clean. I want a bit of chorus in there, and there's these chorus values here. And if I'll lower the volume a bit. So if I go into my chorus, it actually doubles a note or even higher. It offsets sort of a second oscillator for that same partial. So it doubles it. If I double click it, it'll go back to my one, which is unison. And if I change the fine tuning a bit now, I get sort of a chorus. And what I can do now is go back into my standard panel, and I need this top panel because the top panel contains all of the parameters for a single partial, and you can change that per partial. So what I would like to do is add some stereo depth to it to get sort of a Leslie effect. Not really, but in any case, it's going to go over the stereo image, so you can hear. Like that. And the other thing is what I want is a bit more percussion, and the percussion is the short, tacky sound in the start of an organ sound. And I could induce that by going back into my screen and go back into my envelopes, because there's a slight, an ever so slight attack in there, and the attack takes care of how long it takes from one sound or from one start sound from pressing my key to get to the top level. And since there was still a slight value in there, there was a slight thing going on like that. And if I put it back at really at 0, there's sort of a ticky sound in the beginning, and I could make that a bit larger by dropping my sustain back a bit, because sustain is the level it ends up at as soon as you have pressed the key, so after the attack and after the decay phase. And then, since the decay phase is at 0 at the moment, it goes from this peak level to this sustain level in a very short period of time. If I change that decay, it will take longer to get there. So I get a bit more attack. Then obviously I need to get my volume up again a bit, because otherwise the sustain level is a bit too low. Then the other thing that I could do is go into my time slices to get some real attack in there, get a real changed sound in the beginning. What I could do is enter a point on this time slice line. The time slice line can contain points for each and every sound, and every time that I do that, it will morph from one point to another. So if I put a next one here, and as soon as I do that, I get a new carrier and modulator version. As you can tell, it changes from this first sound that I had to this second sound, which is a normal sine wave again. I could select my first one again and copy this and paste it over to this by selecting and paste. So I got the same sound, but obviously then there's no change. But if I do something to this first point, like changing the transposition, for instance, you'll hear that it does this. But since it's too far apart, it really morphs and it slides up from one to the other. What I can do is, if I click my mouse on this timeline and drag down, I sort of zoom in, and I can then drag it to the right by sliding, and then I can select this dot and drag it over to be closer to this, and then I could do other stuff to this first point, because if I change the sound of that, for instance, just by going over a couple of extra harmonics, I could put in more harmonics to get it more crisp. Something like this, for instance. So yeah, like like that. So yeah, I think that does it for now for the organ sound. I'll be back with other ones later. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll be back for more. Cheers. Bye bye.